Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there tonight. You had yourselves a wonderful day, and I hope everyone's had a great weekend out there. You know, for some people, you go back to work tomorrow. For some, it's a 3-day weekend, so you got tomorrow off. That is me, thankfully, because your guys definitely wore out just between tracking this winter storm and so it's just been a lot. Been a little under the weather, so I appreciate the prayers. I did read some of the comments today, so thank you for praying for me to feel better, and my little girl to feel better. She's feeling a little bit better this evening, and I'm feeling a little bit better too. But we're fighting it. It's not a extreme sickness or anything like that, but we're definitely getting through it. So it'd be nice to have an extra day to kind of continue to recover. But we got a lot to talk about with this winter storm. You know, it's been kind of a for certain areas, it's been a little bit of a depressing day if you're a winter weather fan because we haven't really trended anywhere today. You know, we started some bad trends yesterday and we just kind of stuck with it today. But there's been a couple signs over the last few hours that maybe things are trending back the other way, but I wouldn't call it a trend either because we need more time with it going one way or the other, right? So enough of me yapping my jaw here. We're going to cover all the latest information. The way this will get broken up is we'll speak on the south central U.S. first. That'll be Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So we'll cover those states kind of in one area of the video altogether. We'll go over the GFS and the Euro, and then we'll talk about what the National Weather Service is showing as far as accumulations with ice and snow. We're not going to go over really a whole lot of model guides as far as what, it's saying as far as ice and snow. We're just going to focus on the National Weather Service because we're pretty much in range with their forecast. Now, when we go to the southeast timestamp, a little bit different. We'll cover Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida, and we'll kind of do a combination of both. And we'll spend more time on that than we probably will in the south central frame because there's still a heck of a lot more questions for the southeast than there is, say, for Texas, Louisiana, and southern Mississippi. So we're going to work our way through this. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about, or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. I'm probably going to sneeze one or two times in this video, maybe. Hopefully not. So if I do, I apologize ahead of time. And let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest watches and mornings. And this is all going to be focusing on the south. You got the winter storm ongoing right now in the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. So that's kind of a now thing. But let's speak on the south. What's the latest advisories, watches, warnings? Well, if you live in this pink, and the thing about weather-wise is all the alerts are kind of underlap each other, so there's mixed colors everywhere. But I'm going to click on this. This is winter weather advisories over here in kind of almost west central Texas, I guess you would call it. But there's winter storm warnings. I mean, deep down here in Texas. Now, the criteria to meet a winter storm warning is much lower. I think it's like 1/10 of an inch of ice, a dusting of snow, something like that. But San Antonio, winter storm warnings. Houston, winter storm warnings. Corpus Christi, you got winter storm warnings. Just unreal stuff. And you zoom into Louisiana, the entire bayou just about has winter storm warnings. New Orleans, Houma, Baton Rouge. Still just winter storm watches just north of like Alexandria, the central portion of Louisiana. And then you get up into, say, like Shreveport and Dallas. There's no winter weather alerts besides stuff for cold weather. Now, we have had upgrades to winter storm warnings in like Gulfport, the most southern two counties. And I do apologize for calling Louisiana, saying you guys have counties, you have parishes. I always forget that. But thank you for the reminder for the comment I got in yesterday morning's video. Can't promise, or this morning's video, can't promise I won't do it again, but I hope you guys know what I mean. But winter storm watches are still in effect all the way up to Jackson, the I-20 corridor, and even a couple counties north. But there's still some question marks up there. So they're just hanging on to winter storm watches. And then once we get into Alabama, we still just have winter storm watches. But these will all get upgraded to winter storm warnings through Mobile, through the Panhandle of Florida, pretty much all the way down Interstate 10. You already have these winter storm watches. Winter storm watches continue all the way up to Montgomery, all the way up to Atlanta. And of course, this is not a knock at the fine folks at the National Weather Service in Atlanta, but they were very quick to pull winter storm watches. I mean, they did it yesterday, I think. I think they did it overnight last night, but they got winter storm watches all the way up to like Gainesville, which is pretty wild. But folks, we got winter storm watches all the way to just east of Jacksonville, just west of Jacksonville. And then winter storm watches in like Perry. Perry's been hit by 2 hurricanes over the last 2 years, and they have a winter storm watch. And then kind of the newest updates from this has been the winter storm watches extended into the low country of South Carolina. The Midlands, up into southeastern North Carolina, including like the PD of South Carolina. Nothing yet. I do think that'll have an opportunity to change as we wake up for tomorrow morning. But reading the discussion and what a couple people saying at National Weather Service in Columbia, which is, the area I live in, their confidence just isn't high enough, too low, which I think you have to get 2 inches of snow in Columbia, hit winter storm warning criteria. I'm not sure about the ice. Confidence is too low on that, so they have not pulled the trigger on winter storm watches. But enough of that. Let's talk about the South Central U.S. So Texas, Louisiana. I know Louisiana isn't covered in this frame, but I will kind of move over to Louisiana, Mississippi here in a second. We're going to start this off for tomorrow evening. This is how close we are to this thing now. Seems like we have been. We've been talking about this for over 10 days now. We've been covering our tails off with this, and here we are. I mean, the day before the event begins to start. So this is around this time tomorrow evening, 24 hours from now. Moisture begins to build in southern areas of Texas. It's the latest Euro. And then we take it to about the middle of the night tomorrow night. We got a wintry mix breaking out, the blue snow, the pink is freezing rain, the orange is sleet, breaking out across south central Texas. Houston's starting to get some snow at this point. And then we take it to Tuesday morning, the 21st, and it is snowing pretty good in Houston. Now, just southwest of Houston, this is more of just a wintry mix, like Corpus Christi. How deep will the cold air get all the way into maybe Brownsville, Texas? Will you get any kind of winter weather? Remains to be seen. But this is some snow, wintry mess in San Antonio, maybe as far north as Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't think you guys are going to get anything from this. Maybe some flurries, though. Remember, the Arctic air sometimes likes to squeeze out every little bit of moisture possible. So you could get a surprise even in this area that is not reflecting any moisture. Just keep that in mind. Don't expect it, but just keep it in mind. But you continue to go here. We take it to about midday Tuesday. And any of that wintry mess kind of switches to all snow. I mean, even down the coastline, further south in Texas, it's snowing like crazy in Houston. Tuesday morning, Tuesday midday, and it begins to taper off as we start to get into like Tuesday evening. Okay, so let's back this up and let's go on and switch this to Louisiana and southern Mississippi, which is what we'll cover in this. So this is tomorrow late evening. We start to get into the wee hours of the morning Tuesday. Here comes the light snow beginning to work its way. Shouldn't have any issues accumulating. Begins to make its way into the state of Louisiana. How far north is it going to be? It's going to make it to the Arkansas-Louisiana line. It's going to make it to Shreveport. It's a big question. And here's the sneeze. Oh, come on, man. All right. I apologize. All right. It might still come. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a little under the weather, so I do apologize about the sloppiness. It's going to happen. But anyways, this is Tuesday morning, like 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, the snow is coming down in southwest Louisiana, Lake Charles. Just it's snowing in Beaumont, Texas. It's just crazy stuff. The snow's trying to get all the way up into Jackson, Mississippi, Meridian. How far north will the footprint of snow be? It's a big question, but I mean, we take it about midday Tuesday, guys. That's when this is. And that darker shade of blue, guys, that is heavy snow. And it's just pretty wild how there's such a sharp cutoff to the north. But it is now snowing in southeastern Louisiana. You got heavier snow moving into southwestern Mississippi. And then you take it to about Tuesday afternoon, you got a snowstorm starting to move into the coastal areas and all of southern Mississippi, Hattiesburg. I mean, it's snowing back in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Houma, Thibodaux, Alexandria is starting to pull out. And then this continues into Tuesday evening. We get into late evening. And then by the time we get late night, Tuesday night, it begins to taper off. It's about done after that. But not after, getting a heavy-hitting, rare, potentially historic winter storm. Now, what about the GFS? We'll kind of do that again, right? This is starting tomorrow evening. There's the winter weather breaking out across southern Texas. Starts off as a wintry mix in that orange and pink area. And it gets heavy, too. Like, it's just confined to the southern sections of Texas, though. This is heavy precipitation, like in the darker shades down here. And then it goes to light, and then it goes to absolutely nothing. It's a pretty sharp cutoff, and I think that'll be the storyline of the system. But you keep going here and just getting a wintry mess along the Texas coastline, and then eventually it might crash the snow. Now, the GFS is more bullish on like a warm nose, right? It really likes the idea of just more mixing in Houston and Corpus Christi, but eventually, even in Houston on the GFS, it crashes into all snow, Galveston, Beaumont, and then, you start to move into late Tuesday evening. And then we'll do the same thing for Louisiana. Back it up a little bit here. Snow begins to move in. Same thing, into the wee hours of the morning. Tuesday morning into Louisiana. By the time we take it to about morning time Tuesday, sun's up. You got a winter storm moving into the southern sections of Louisiana. We got a wintry mix along the coastline. But, the National Weather Service is liking the idea of more snow than a wintry mix. And I'm going to show you what they're saying as far as snow totals here in a second. But this is heavy snow in New Orleans, Baton Rouge. But you notice it doesn't get too far north. It doesn't even make it up to Jackson or Meridian. But it does hit like Hattiesburg. It looks like the footprint of snow tries to get all the way up to like Meridian. But man, look at this heavy snow Tuesday afternoon across southern Louisiana. Still snowing back here in southeastern Texas. I mean, it is snowing very heavily. I mean, Jackson's going to be, if you're a winter weather fan, you live in Jackson, Mississippi, you're going to be out there punching the air because you're going to be so upset. And unfortunately, all we can do is hope that this takes a little bit further north. But here's the thing, and I'm going to mention this in the southeast frame too. It's going to be like a civil war in each state. So it's not one of those setups where, if you live like, for example, in Shreveport, you're saying, okay, well, if we can just pull this north, or Jackson or Meridian, if we can just pull this north and we can all get into the fun. Well, if you ask for that to happen, and like I said, it's not like asking for it's going to necessarily make it happen. If you want that to happen, you're definitely going to, I hate to say it, but you're going to screw your folks down here along the coastline because you're going to introduce a more of a warm nose. So if you push the moisture up here, you get more snow up here, you're going to bring more ice into the coastline and lose more of that snow element to the storm. I hope that makes sense. But this moves on out and it's done. Now let's start to talk about totals. The latest out of the National Weather Service out of Dallas-Fort Worth area. They're not expecting any snow here. Once you get south, maybe a couple inches, we'll see what happens. And, here's a bunch of towns down here for you guys to look at. You get down to Centerville, point south, Herney or Hearn, not sure how y'all pronounce that, inch. And then it climbs up a little bit more when you get a little bit further south. National Weather Service out of San Antonio and Austin. Austin itself going for 1 to 2 inches. San Antonio, an inch or less. But once you get east down Interstate 10, you start to run into accumulating snow. Now, what about ice in this area? Certainly a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice is possible. So a couple inches of snow, a little glaze of ice, certainly can cause issues in the south, which definitely is where this is. And then check this out. Look at this historic stuff right here. This graphic was issued a few hours back. National Weather Service out of Houston. Houston going for around 4 inches of snow. Galveston around 3. Beaumont 4 to 5. Lake Charles, you can already see Louisiana. 6 inches of snow is what they're forecasting. You go up a little bit further north. College Station 1 to 2 inches of snow. You see it on your screen. Hopefully you can see it pretty well. Just unreal stuff for this far south. And, maybe a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice to go with it, especially south of Houston and southwest of Houston. So we continue to move forward here. We look at the National Weather Service out of Shreveport. Not expecting much in this area. Currently, they're going for about 0.2 of an inch of snow in Shreveport. Once you get south, though, that's when you start to run into the risk of actual accumulating snow. So not much in this area, unfortunately. I know you guys kind of got hoodooed with the first system, didn't get a whole lot, and areas just to your north got slammed. So you're going to need some big trends to kind of get into the snow fun here. But another rare area, this is the National Weather Service out of Lake Charles. 5 to 6 inches of snow is possible in Lake Charles. This is where it can really snow hard as we are starting to get into Tuesday. Lafayette, 5 to 6 inches of snow. I know you folks are excited down here, at least if you're a winter weather fan. But if you're not, I think you can take time to appreciate how uncommon this is, how rare it is, and just enjoy the moment. I'm excited for you guys. I think this is going to be a really cool event for you folks. And, the good thing is they're not really calling for much ice with it. A couple 100ths of an inch of ice, that's nothing. So, and then we look at this. This is even cooler. National Weather Service out of the New Orleans area going for 2 to 3 inches of snow in New Orleans. Homa, 1 to 2. Baton Rouge, 4 to 5 inches of snow. Macomb, 3. Gulfport, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Just crazy stuff, right? But here we are. Ice, they just continue to not have an updated ice graphic up, and I'm not sure why. So I apologize for not having anything with that. The National Weather Service in Jackson going up Interstate 55 along Interstate 20. I've read some comments in the Jackson area. I know you guys are disappointed. Who knows? You just got to watch what the radar does. You're going to be plenty cold enough for snow for now, going for just over a half an inch of snow. I know this morning they were going for over an inch. Meridian, closer to an inch. Once you get down to Hattiesburg, maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow. You just got to watch the moisture field. How far north does it climb? And I'm going to say this multiple times. I'm surprised I haven't said it already, but a lot of times the moisture ends up being further north than modeled. So let's talk about the Southeast. So if you're just clicking on this timestamp for the Southeast, we're going to talk about Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. All right, timestamp is up here. This is for Tuesday morning, 12Z. That's Zulu time. That's Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. So this is in Eastern time, so Central time, like Alabama, it's 6 a.m. So we're going to start off by looking at the Euro. There's been some changes. I would call a change. It's hard to call it a changes, but Tuesday morning, all right, snow as we're getting into midday Tuesday begins to move into Alabama. You see the blue here, that's blue snow. The pink you see is going to be freezing rain, the orange sleet. So snow starts to move into Alabama. You take it one more. This is about mid-afternoon Tuesday. Heavy snow now starts to move into Mobile, southwestern Alabama. How far north does the snow get on the Euro? I can tell you the Euro is probably the most aggressive with the northerly extent of the precipitation. We got a lot of people pulling for snow in Birmingham to Atlanta, especially my folks in the Carolinas, because our folks here in the Carolinas, which is where I live, we got flat out robbed with the last winter storm last Friday. Atlanta got anywhere from 2 to 5 inches, depending on where you live. So, we're certainly watching this, and we're going to keep going. So we get it into Tuesday evening. You got an all-out snowstorm in Mobile, the western panhandle of Florida. It's snowing in Dothan, Georgia. It's snowing in Auburn. It's snowing. It looks like Montgomery's right on the fringe of light to heavy snow. Look at the heavy snow moving into southwestern Georgia. And then the light snow gets all the way into South Carolina. So, if this is right, this is Tuesday around lunchtime. We got light snow spreading all the way, as far north as like the western sections of North Carolina. The Euro continues to kind of provide hope for snow further west and north. Okay? And it would take it one more, and then this is when this potentially has a chance to crank up, and this is when it really becomes much more different than other model guidance. The Euro says, hey, not only are we going to keep this moisture pretty heavy and steady, we're going to even beef it up a little bit more. So we got heavy snow falling in central to south central Georgia. We have an icing event kind of south of the ice and snow line. So looks like you're just getting an icy mix maybe in Tallahassee, while your friends here in the western panhandle are getting heavy snow. And you're going to trip out when y'all see the forecast out of National Weather Service out of Mobile, what they're calling for. But here it is. The heavy snow's moving into the low country of South Carolina. Heck, even like the southern Midlands. Columbia's right here. Atlanta right into here. And this is getting into late Tuesday evening. You take in another frame. Then it starts to snow heavily in the low country of South Carolina. How much of this icy mix do you get into the picture? Snowing now at a moderate to heavy pace in Myrtle Beach, Wilmington. Snowing all the way up into eastern North Carolina. And then this kind of band forms here, and this is kind of your last hurrah. And you got cold air working in, and this is all ice in the northern counties of Florida, extreme southeastern, like the Florida-Georgia line, southeastern areas of Georgia. This is all freezing rain and sleet. Like Valdosta would be getting snow here, and Charleston would be switching to all heavy snow right at the end. This is the wee hours of the morning Wednesday. And then, it kind of lasts all the way to Wednesday morning and daybreak, and then it heads on out. Okay, and then we got to watch another period behind this. I want to watch this little push of moisture late Thursday into Friday. We're still watching that. That could provide something tricky. But, so you kind of freeze this in your head, right? And what's wild to me is, you look at that, you compare it to 12Z, it actually shifted. Like, this is 12Z. This is the current run. It was actually a shift back west and north, which you haven't seen that much at all over the last 48 hours. I would say 36. So here's the GFS. Okay, we're going to break this down a little bit. First off, I want to say off the GFS, it's trying to bring some snow showers Tuesday morning even into Georgia. And there's been some teases at that in model guidance, so we'll certainly watch it. But here we go. The GFS brings this heavy snow into Mobile, the western panhandle of Florida. Snow tries to get all the way up to about, Birmingham point south. Some snow begins to move into southwestern Georgia Tuesday afternoon. And I think this will quickly move in through Georgia into South Carolina. So we're getting into about 6, 7 p.m. Snow tries to start to get all the way up to Columbia at this point. It tries to bring a... This is another interesting thing. You see all this moisture right here off the coast of the southeast? This is very close. And the NAM actually shows an evolution of this where this moisture actually gets inland and is a wintry mess earlier Tuesday. But, I mean, you got a winter storm on going in the panhandle of Florida. It's snowing like crazy in extreme southern Alabama. You take this another frame. The snow makes it, it's light. It's light. The snow makes it all the way north of Columbia. I mean, almost all the way to Rock Hill. But the heaviest stuff is pretty far south. And this is what's odd to me, is that you have this big expansion north of precipitation, but you got to really get deep into this precipitation field for you to get into this heavy stuff. And that's not me saying that's what's going to happen. It's just odd to me. And the GFS has consistently shown like an output like this. And then we take it into, this is midday. I'm sorry, not midday. I'm everywhere, guys. The middle of the night, Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. You still got periods of light snow all the way up through Columbia. But the heaviest stuff's down here. And this one should just keep a lighter event pretty much across the eastern Carolinas. It never really brings a big event. And then it slowly kind of just drifts off the coastline. And then we have to watch some energy after that. And it shows something there. But I want to go back to where this is the most, like the furthest west. So if you look at the last run compared, let's go all the way to this. See what's changed? Like, this is the run overnight. This is the run this morning. Showed nothing hardly. This is the 12Z run. And this is the current run. So you see that little bit of a tick. It's not much, but I know it's noticeable to you guys. There's been some very small changes with the GFS, and I think it's because of the northern stream piece of energy up here that's changing. I really want to say the orientation of this storm. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Now the NAM, which there'll be another one that runs in, I don't know, there'll be another one that runs in about an hour or so. But it basically just keeps this as a southern system. But this is what I'm talking about with it's later with this. It looks weird already. Like the NAM, like the Euro and the GFS already has snow all the way up to central South Carolina, deep into Georgia at this. The NAM wants to just do something totally different. This is Tuesday evening. It wants to push this moisture onshore, and it keeps the heaviest moisture like on the Gulf side, just confined to the south, has a nasty ice storm for northern Florida, southern Georgia, and it just never gets the heavy stuff really far inland. It really takes it and confines it with the coast, and I don't know, it's just a weird output. Now, if you look at the HRRR model, it's we don't have the latest one with that, but I can tell you a lot of models, guys. Let's see. What was I trying to look at here? Heck, even this. See, like, this is the short-range Canadian run. Here it comes, and it's a mist of the south. I mean, it doesn't even hit the low country of South Carolina really hard. And they're under winter storm watches right now. So it looks like the global models right now are really the ones that are just further. And I would say, I've read in the comments, there's been some irritated people today, mention it too. Y'all trash the GFS, and hey, all the model guidance folded to it. And I would say you're exactly right. But one thing I would say is that the Euro has remained, I would say, the most steady over the last 48 to 72 hours. It has. And the GFS has too. But if the GFS ticks further north and west overnight, then I think it's trying to correct itself to the Euro. But it might not. So I'm not sure. But taking a look at the latest Euro ensemble, the 18Z one, that's still a pretty impressive footprint of snow. I mean, it still is averaging about 5 inches of snow, like around Myrtle Beach. It still gives a nice hit for eastern North Carolina. Heck, it brings a pretty nice vent even into like central Georgia, central South Carolina, almost all the way to Raleigh, depending on your definition of a nice event. Like it has an inch and a half of snow here in my house in Columbia. Once upon a time when I was tracking the storm, I was thinking, man, I want something more than an inch. Now I'll take an inch. But it gives hope for folks a little bit further north and west. And if you compare this, and I mean, look at south central and southern areas of Georgia. Look at southern Alabama, the Panhandle of Florida. A nice 2 to as much as a 5-inch snowfall average. And if you compare this, let's go all the way to the 06Z. That was a little bit better. You go to the 12Z, it shrunk. But in the last run, it actually beefed up again. Now, one thing I am noticing is it is cutting off. It's creating a very tight gradient to the north up here. I mean, somebody is just going to go. I mean, I think you're going to be able to go like 10 miles one way or the other, and you'll be able to call your friend's house, and they say, hey, I got a dusting of snow on the ground, and then your other friend on the wrong side of the 10 miles, on the dry side, has absolutely nothing. I think this could potentially be like that for someone. Now, the GFS ensemble just supports its operational run, and it just does not like much snow into the Carolinas. And it even begins to cut it off a little bit into Georgia. So, and you still got the Canadian ensemble. That's the Canadian run, which is pretty much dead to me for what the way it folded. But I will show you the Canadian ensemble, and it still has that footprint of snow here. And one thing that a lot of people are showing also is the blend of all models, which is dramatically went down. But the blend of all models, I think, runs about 1 or 2 model cycles behind. So, you know, it's very difficult to really, I would say, take it very serious. Now, before we go into the actual National Weather Service forecast, I want to show you this. And our good friend Daniel Bonds, which is a local meteorologist in the Columbia area, and I meant to already have this pulled up so I wouldn't have to do all this. He posted the graph model. Now, this gains a lot of traction, in the Southeast. And I'm trying to find it. I know I'm everywhere, guys. Let's take a big view at this. So this is the graph model. If you're wondering what the heck is a graph model, this is a model that only folks in these local stations have. All of the local stations have this. So this is it in motion. And I'm going to stop it here. This is 3:15 Tuesday. Look at the snow across southern Alabama. The snow makes it all the way to Atlanta on this. And it bullseyes Columbia, even heading towards Charlotte. And check this out. Most model guidance doesn't show that much snow getting in like Columbia. Heck, even that far north of Columbia. And I mean, it almost gets all the way up to Charlotte. So the graph model, just to kind of give you guys an example, a city example, and I'm, of course, going to give my city because I live in Columbia. It has snow moving in Columbia, for example. And this speaks for Augusta, too, and up to Florence. Has snow moving in and around 5 to 6 p.m. Tuesday. And then it lasts through, all the way till about almost midnight. So what is that? I don't know, 5-6 hours of snow? I'm going to tell you right now, 5 to 6 hours of snow, with how cold it is, will drop 2 to 3 inches of 2 to 3 inches of snow probably. But it also looks weird down here in, say, Florida, and it's wanting freezing rain to almost fall all the way down Ocala, Florida. But it would be a huge hit for the I-95 corridor points east. So, at the same time, you got different models out there, and maybe this is me just hanging on to hope here. But for example, that model for like central South Carolina, for example, gives the Midlands of South Carolina a couple inches of snow when most model guidance isn't showing that. So let's go with what the National Weather Service is showing for these areas, and we'll see if we have any updated graphics as we go. But Birmingham, they're only going for 1/10 of an inch of snow. You get down here to Interstate 85 and go down to Interstate 20, it starts to increase. Montgomery going for about an inch and some change. And once you get south of Montgomery, that's when you have an opportunity to get around 2 inches of snow. But check this graphic out, folks. Check this out. This is Mobile. Going for 2 to 4 inches of snow in Mobile. I know you people up north are probably laughing, but man, I think everybody can understand how big of a deal this is. Pensacola, 2 inches of snow. Destin, my face might be in the way, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Bruton, 2 to 4. Greenville, 1 to 2. This is wild stuff. This is not common at all. And I'm trying to get this graphic off. It won't let me. There will be a chance of ice here, but I don't think it'll be that much. But that's just crazy stuff, right? Now, what's even crazier is you work your way to further west in the Panhandle, which one would argue it's even more difficult to get snow here. Tallahassee going for a half an inch of snow. The further north and northwest you work, and west you work, the more you get. And this includes Valdosta going for around a half an inch. Dothan around an inch. Enterprise about 2 inches of snow. And there's going to be some icing issues. Once you get, the further I would say you get in the south, Georgia, and even northern Florida, the more ice. I mean, this is where you can get your most ice. So if you live in this darker shade of orange, that's over 1/10 of an inch of ice. There's a lot of trees that have a lot of damage in this area from multiple hurricanes that went through this area. So we don't need too much ice. We can handle a little bit of snow, but too much ice is going to cause big issues. And then check it out. Who would have thought that we're looking at winter weather stuff for Jacksonville? Jacksonville itself, not calling for any snow. That could change. But once you get up Interstate 95, I mean, some of these islands of Georgia could get accumulating snow. Very, very difficult to get snow here. Very difficult. You get up the Douglas, Waycross, 1 to 2 inches of snow. And then we could get some ice in this area. And they do not. Are you kidding me? They don't have the ice graphic pulled up. That stinks, guys. That really stinks. So I'm going to do it on the fly. We're going to do it on the fly for us. We're going to go down here to Georgia. We're going to look at this. And let's look at that. How much ice they're going for. So, yeah, I mean, kind of the same general deal of what I just showed you with Georgia and further west on the Panhandle of Florida. If you live in that pink area, over 1/10 of an inch of ice is forecasted. So, if we look a little bit further north in Georgia, including pretty much the rest of Georgia, I mean, they got winter storm watches in Atlanta. I thought that was crazy, but hey, they know what they're talking about. Over a half an inch is forecast in Atlanta. You get south, you get down to like Macon, an inch or two of snow. Warrenton going for around an inch of snow. You get down here a little bit further south, down here to Columbus, maybe 2 inches, Butler, 2 inches. So definitely a good 1 to 2 inch snowfall event in these areas, but this area could overachieve too. And this was also updated around 3 o'clock. See if we have a new graphic. We do not. So not expecting much in the way of any ice here. And then we start to head into the Charleston area. Ain't this crazy? Going for over 2 inches of snow in Charleston right now. Walterboro, 2 inches. Allendale, 1.5 inches of snow. Beaufort, 2 to maybe 2.5 inches of snow. Savannah, around 2 inches of snow. This could be a really cool event for you guys. Statesboro, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Moncks Corner, Somerville, 2.5 inches. And you could get a little bit of ice, especially once you get into Georgia. I mean, Darien going for maybe almost a 1/4 inch of ice. And there's going to be some icing issues once you get deep down in Georgia, for sure. Now, Columbia. This is where I live, and I would argue this is probably where a lot of my people that tune in probably live. Right now, this is what they're saying. This was updated about an hour or so ago. Going for an inch or less in Columbia. Same thing with Aiken, Augusta, Camden, Winsboro. But, I mean, just right down the road, they're calling for a solid inch. Orangeburg, Barnwell. I know a lot of people are thinking, they're like, man, I thought this was going to be something so much better. But things could change, guys. If the Euro's right, you're going to get more snow than what this is showing. But if some of these short-range models are right, then you probably won't. But we can get changes overnight. So just be paying attention to this area. I made a comment earlier, and this may be because I'm biased towards my local National Weather Service in Columbia, but I think they have one of the toughest forecasts. This little area right in here is very difficult. Up Interstate 20, down Interstate 20, up 95. This corridor is extremely tough to figure out. And I would argue like back in Mississippi, that's a tough area too, and even through Alabama. Where does that cutoff go? It's really that Interstate 20 corridor that is brutal to forecast right now. But not expecting any ice here. And the last National Weather Service I'll look at is the one out of Wilmington, and then they're not really in range yet. And the rest of areas points north and east. Myrtle Beach going for an inch. Wilmington, an inch. But these darker shade of blues here, I mean, that's maybe 1 to 2 inches, Sumter about an inch of snow. So a coastal light snow event is forecast. So that's all I got, guys. Hey, just want to say thank you for the support. Not sure if I'll hit 100K before, we're done tracking the storm. I think by the time I'm done with this video, I'll probably be at like 98.5K. So who knows if I'm going to get that extra 1,500, but what does it matter? I've gotten so much support. I just want to say how much I appreciate the heck out of you guys. Thank you for everything. Admittedly, this weekend has been a bummer for me because I've been sick, and then it's trended in a really bad way from my neck of the woods. And, I'm really behind on comments. I haven't read one comment since like Friday. So I apologize. There's probably been a lot of questions. There's probably been a lot of people on social media that's reached out to me. I've just been gassed, guys. I'm very, very tired, very wore out. So, heck, I'm probably going to, when this storm is over, probably take a little bit of a break, go back to definitely 1 video a day, which is a break for me. But been pumping out these videos twice a day since, I think, right before Christmas. So, hoping that this event works out for my neck of the woods, anybody else that lives around me, so we can kind of round off this very, very active streak with a bang. So, hopefully we'll wake up tomorrow morning for some good news for some more people. We'll see what happens. What I can tell you is these systems are notorious. Coastal systems with plenty of cold air in place are notorious for pulling a trick out the hat right at the last second. So just buckle up, stay tuned. We'll see what we got, what we're working with as we get into tomorrow. God bless and have a wonderful night.